All aboard as we take a journey into the past and take a closer look at the restoration project carried out by the Heritage Trust on the last known surviving boxcar in Gibraltar, and discover the extensive railway system in which it was once part of. The Rock of Gibraltar, because of its geographic location, has always had a strong navy presence ever since it was recaptured in 1704. Throughout the years, the Navy dockyard at Gibraltar has undergone numerous modifications and expansions to cater for the increasing naval presence in the Mediterranean. But it wasn't until the opening of the Suez Canal in 1869 that a decision to construct a dry dock was taken. The expansion was sanctioned in 1895, which would also include larger coaling facilities and ancillary support trades. Such was the scale of the construction that a railway system was laid to help move soil and rock to areas that needed to be reclaimed. Quarries were opened on the east side with a railway built along the edge of the sand slopes. These works went as far as the entrance to Dudley Ward Tunnel, with an east-west link through the Admiralty Tunnel. Although I had heard about the existence of a railway line in Gibraltar, it wasn't until I came across some old train sketches in a book that I learnt that they were actual locomotives in Gibraltar. I went to visit Gil Podesta, a local restorer, to find out more about the trains. Okay, Gil, so this is down by Eastern Beach. Is this where the aerial farm used to be?
That's exactly where the aerial farm used to be here. The Devil's Star, you can't see, but it's far beyond there. And there was also a Caledonian Canal that got across that got built later on. It was an anti-defense system. But anyway, this is the block making yard under construction here. It was a massive undertaking when you think of it. There was hundreds of people employed here, moving stuff here and quarrying them by the eastern side. I'll show you now where they were quarrying in some of the quarries here. This is Monkey's Cave above Catlan Bay. They laid a series of tracks along here, and then they started quarrying the stones. And when they quarried the stones there, it was taken down to a block making yard past Catlan Bay. You can see the block making yard in here.
There.
Yeah. The stones were crushed here into different gradings. Right.
Sorry, this is because for someone like me, this is where the Caleta Hotel is.
Exactly.
Is nowadays.
Yeah, the Caleta Hotel is would have been by the side here, or is by the side here rather here, and you can see a little locomotive here with a few skip wagons, right, and the stone that they quarried from Monkey's Cave and beyond, and the stones were tipped here, and they were crushed into different gradings. Then they were taken back to the block making yard here. And once the molds were set and the blocks were made, they would take it down via railway link through Devil's Star Road and way back down to the dockyard.
The railway system was quite extensive, really, considering the size of Gibraltar. Practically 3/4 of the land in Gibraltar had rails on it, because not only from the quarries on the east side, Catalan Bay and Sandy Bay area, there was also a system running now what is now Devil's Tower Road, because in Eastern Beach was the area where the concrete blocks were made and prepared, and they had to be transported all the way to the present site, Dockhead site. And so the whole of Queensway, or Reclamation Road as it was known then, was covered with rails. And I remember maybe in the late 60s, there was still parts of the rail where Queensway Quay is now, on the seafront there. It used to be called Governor's Landing, next to Gam Wharf. And there was rails there, but because of the building of Queensway as such, the actual rails running all the way down Queensway were removed. But don't forget there was also rails running all the way down to the North Mole, where the cruise liner terminal is now. So it's quite an extensive railway system for Gibraltar, basically. And then the other one, which the rails are still there, is the east to west tunnel in the dockyard that runs from the dockyard to Sandy Bay. The rails are still there, and that tunnel was built to access the quarry, the stone quarries on the east side. The gauge, which is the width of the rails, is narrower than the standard sort of railway we see in UK and other places, to accommodate for the size and the necessity as well.
Gil was keen to show me the remains of a complex down by North Gorge.
These are the fridges here, the three fridges here, smaller ones, but the bigger ones are below. But this is where they used to keep all the cold meat store, between here and below downstairs. So we'll have a look inside now and I'll show you
Let's go in and have a look.
What we can find inside, shall we?
North Gorge had the refrigerated stores for perishables, meat and things like that. And they did lay a railway system or railway tracks to the entrance from in the area of Rosedale.
The carcasses would have been hung there by hooks.
Oh, the meat would have been hung here, right?
Exactly. And then, a series of racks coming along. And the other ones, they're entirely different. That would have been just laid down in there in boxes or whatever. It's just a small store. Now, in here,
So this is the lift shaft? Then?
This is the lift shaft.
This is the only way they were probably able to carry the supplies down to the lower levels?
There's a series of steps by the side up there, but unfortunately the steps are rotten now, so we can't go through there. But this would have taken you 2 levels down, and this is where the larger stores there. There were 6 of them in all. Well, we're going to go down to a lower level now. This is where I'll show you where the cold meat was brought up via a tunnel with an electric lift on it. This is probably the pump house was on the right hand side. We're going to have a look at the boilers now, which is just across here on this side. Here we are. This is the boiler room for the whole of the complex, where the water was heated for all the stores and various buildings around here.
Okay, Gil, well, I can see here what seems to be part of a rail. So talk me through what have we got here?
Right. This would have been the rail that comes down from below the North Gorge by where Rosedale is, which I'm going to take you later on. The cold meats was loaded below the gorge, right? Once they were offloaded, they would come by an electric lift along this rail. This would have taken you down. There's a tunnel that goes all the way down. When it was brought down to here, they would offload it across there onto the fridges. Then backwards and forwards, depending on how much stuff they wanted to bring up. Where we are now, we are standing at the bottom of Rosedale, just below the old Naval Hospital. Right. I'm going to show you a photograph, a 1921 photograph of the crew that used to work the engines. This is right at the entrance of the tunnel where we're going to go in now. Right. And this is the crew that would have worked the trains bringing the cold meat onto the tunnel. The cold meat would have been bought here. The store underneath there.
I mean, I can still see again more signs of the rail.
Well, you can see part of the rails here. Right, these rails would have led you down to the cut in the 100-ton gun, plus Rosier Bay all the way down, and some of them would have turned left onto the victualling yard, onto the quarries. But in the main, they came down to bring cold meat by the 100-ton gun.
Up next, a visit to Dutch Magazine Gorge, also known as The Cut, where the wagon had stood in its siding for many years.
Now we're coming across to where I came across the wagon some time ago.
The wagon had been relocated several times in the past before eventually ending up in the area behind the 100-ton gun.
Well, I knew there were trains in Gibraltar because, as you know, I collect all photographs of Gibraltar, and I've got some shots of the old trains in Gibraltar. And I wandered around here in the cut. I came to the cut, which is directly behind the 100-ton gun, and I saw the wagon here, lying in here. It was in a dreadful state, and I used to do restoration in the UK. I was always involved with restoration, and I looked at it and I thought, well, maybe this can be restored, you know, because one of the last bits of the industrial age, you know, relating to the dockyard and the railway links. So I looked around it, and then those doors behind me, they were open at the time, and I was hoping, it was all dark inside, and I was hoping there might have been an old train inside it.
Unfortunately, that wasn't the case.
When I went inside, there was a wagon, a flatback, and two little bogies, the smaller wagons inside it. Then I got in touch with the Heritage Trust, and they came around, they had a look at it, and they said, okay, they would fund the project. The wagon itself is probably about 70 years old, the wagon, right? And it's basically it's the same style as the ones that the MOD have been using for a number of years. This wagon was used for ferrying materials around. It's a box-type covered wagon, and it's got a sliding door to the side of it. And this was used for carrying, you know, like plants and machinery and stuff like the heavy plants and that. Right. Yeah. Whilst they were cleaning out the area, I came across this inscription here.
And that would have been from?
This probably some of the crews that were working here. It's got 1930, and it's got some, I think, something bis, H. Sodi, Sam and Jack and Cole. Probably some of the lads that were working here on the maintenance.
The gorge continues to bend round into a tunnel which leads directly into Gib Dock. And it's here inside this tunnel where we find the two smaller flat packs which were discovered inside the shed.
So Gil, we're here, and this is one of the early remnants left of the trains then.
Right. These are known as flatbacks. These are for transporting heavy plant and machinery. The reason being that with the cranes, when they offload all the heavy plant, it's easy just to dispose of them on top and then remove them afterwards. But you can see it's got a metal sheeting on it on top. They must have been carrying heavy goods. These are the ones that were inside the shed. If you just come inside up there, they had just been there probably for about. I was talking to a chap up there, and he was telling me that he remembers putting them in the I think it was the early 70s. They were put inside it, and they've been lying there ever since.
And you were telling me also one thing about them, that when they did take them out of the shed, how smooth they were. You know, I mean, like the mechanics.
Yeah, the mechanics is incredible, because I thought, well, the biggest problem is we're going to have to hire, you know, some heavy plant to drag this thing out. But no, they literally rolled them out.
And do you know how many flat packs there were in Gib at the time?
Oh, there would have been loads and loads of these, probably, well, over 100 certainly of these all over the place when they were constructing the dockyard. Early photographs show them, you know, by the side when they're constructing the dockyard and ferrying stuff around. And it's, as I say, it's incredible, because there's only, as far as we know, these are the only two that are left. And probably they would have disposed of them, you know, if the Heritage Trust wouldn't have, you know, funded the project or make sure that they were preserved.